What if the secret to a longer, sharper, more vibrant life wasn't hiding in a lab or a supplement aisle, but on a small, sun-baked island in the Aegean Sea where people have been quietly outliving the rest of the world for generations? There's a place called Ikaria, off the coast of Greece, where it's not unusual to meet someone in their 90s, still tending an olive grove, still walking 2 miles a day, still laughing over long dinners with 3 generations at the table. Researchers call places like this blue zones, pockets of the world where people live measurably longer, healthier lives. And when scientists finally sat down to figure out why, the answer wasn't a miracle pill. It was food. The same food, eaten the same simple way for hundreds of years. Today, I'm going to walk you through 20 Mediterranean foods that modern research is now linking to slower aging, sharper brains, and stronger hearts. Stick around because number 11 is a fermented staple that scientists believe may be one of the quiet secrets behind Ikaria's extraordinary gut health. And number 18 is a rare, resin-like ingredient that researchers are studying for a compound so unique it barely exists anywhere else in nature. If you want to eat smarter and age slower using food that stood the test of centuries, hit subscribe and stay with me because we're just getting started. And if you'd rather have all of this in one place to keep, save, and use in your own kitchen, I've put together a free companion guide. Links in the description, and I'll show you exactly what's inside a little later. Let's get into it.
Extra virgin olive oil, the liquid gold of longevity. Every Mediterranean meal starts here. Icarians don't measure olive oil, they pour it, generously, daily, on everything from bread to vegetables to fish. What makes it exceptional isn't just the healthy fat. Extra virgin olive oil is loaded with polyphenols, plant compounds with strong antioxidant activity, and a compound called oleocanthal, which research has compared to a mild, natural anti-inflammatory mild. Regular consumption has been linked in Mediterranean population studies to lower rates of heart disease and better markers of brain health. Traditional use, poured raw over vegetables, bread, and legumes, never wasted on high, prolonged heat which degrades its most delicate compounds. Think of it as the daily thread that quietly ties every meal and every decade together. Wild greens, horta, the forager's multivitamin. Long before supermarkets, Mediterranean families foraged wild greens from hillsides, dandelion, chicory, amaranth, wild mustard. In Ikaria, this habit never disappeared. These greens are dense in folate, vitamin K, and a wide spread of antioxidant compounds far more diverse than a single cultivated vegetable can offer. Some varieties contain notably high levels of plant compounds linked to reduced inflammation and better blood pressure regulation. Traditional use, boiled briefly, dressed simply with olive oil and lemon, eaten as a side almost daily. Think of it as nature's multivitamin, growing wild and free on the side of the road.
Number 3. Mountain tea, the daily anti-inflammatory ritual. Sideritis, or mountain tea, grows wild in the rocky highlands of Greece and has been brewed as a daily drink for centuries. Research on sideritis has pointed to notable antioxidant activity and compounds under early study for potential cognitive protective effects. It's naturally caffeine-free, so it's part of the daily rhythm from morning to night. Traditional use, dried stems steeped in hot water, sipped slowly, often shared. Think of it as the quiet, steady companion to every Ikarian afternoon. Number 4. Sourdough bread, the fermented staple that isn't feared. Unlike much of the industrialized world, traditional Mediterranean bread is naturally fermented, not risen with commercial yeast. The slow fermentation process breaks down some of the compounds that can cause digestive discomfort and produces a lower, more stable blood sugar response compared to standard white bread. It's a small distinction with a big compounding effect over a lifetime of meals. Traditional use, baked in small batches, eaten with olive oil, never highly processed. Think of it as proof that bread was never the problem, the shortcuts were.
Number 5. Legumes, the protein that outlives meat. Beans, lentils, and chickpeas are eaten far more often than meat across the blue zones of the Mediterranean. Some studies suggest nearly daily. Legumes are rich in fiber,
plant protein, and resistant starch, which feeds beneficial gut bacteria. Large population studies have repeatedly linked regular legume consumption with lower all-cause mortality, one of the most consistent findings in longevity nutrition research. Traditional use: slow-simmered stews with olive oil, herbs, and vegetables. Think of it as the humble bean quietly outperforming foods with far bigger reputations. Number 6. Feta cheese, the probiotic dairy exception. Made traditionally from sheep and goat's milk, feta differs meaningfully from mass-produced cow's milk cheese. It naturally contains probiotic bacteria from fermentation, along with a fat profile that differs from conventional dairy. Sheep and goat milk products have been associated in Mediterranean cohort studies with more favorable health markers than heavily processed dairy. Traditional use: crumbled over vegetables and greens, never the centerpiece of the plate. Think of it as the exception that proves moderation, not restriction, is the real rule.
Number 7. Raw honey, the ancient sweetener with a purpose. In Ikaria, local honey isn't just a sweetener, it's part of the daily ritual, often stirred into tea or drizzled over yogurt. Raw, unprocessed honey contains antioxidant compounds and mild antibacterial properties largely destroyed by the heavy processing used in commercial honey. It's used with intention, not by the spoonful. Traditional use: a small amount daily, stirred into tea or spread thin. Think of it as sweetness with a job to do, not just a craving to satisfy. Number 8. Garlic, the pungent protector. Used generously across nearly every savory Mediterranean dish, garlic contains allicin, a sulfur compound formed when the clove is crushed or chopped. Allicin and related compounds have been studied for supporting healthy blood pressure and cholesterol levels. Regular garlic consumption is one of the more consistently replicated findings in cardiovascular nutrition research industry. Traditional use: crushed fresh and added at the end of cooking to preserve its active compounds. Think of it as the small, sharp ingredient doing outsized work on your arteries. Number 9. Red wine, in moderation, the debated but real tradition. This one comes with a real caveat, and it deserves to be said plainly. Red wine is not a health food, and if you don't already drink, this isn't a reason to start. But in blue zone populations that do drink, it's typically one small glass, with food, shared slowly with others, a social ritual as much as a beverage. Red wine contains resveratrol, a compound studied for antioxidant activity, though researchers now believe the pattern, slow, social, moderate, may matter as much as the wine itself. Traditional use: one glass with a meal, never alone. Think of it less as a health food and more as a lesson in how Mediterranean cultures do almost everything, slowly and together. Number 10. Figs, the ancient fruit with modern fiber science. Fresh or dried, figs have grown across the Mediterranean for thousands of years and remain a daily snack in Icarian households. They're notably rich in fiber and potassium and contain plant compounds under study for antioxidant activity. Their natural sugars come bundled with fiber that moderates the body's glucose response. Traditional use: one glass with a meal, never alone. Think of it less as a health food and more as a lesson in how Mediterranean cultures do almost everything, slowly and together. Number 11. Trahana, the fermented staple behind Ikaria's gut health. And here it is, number 11. The fermented food researchers believe may be one of the quiet reasons Icarian gut health is so consistently remarkable. Trahana is a traditional fermented mixture of cracked wheat and soured milk or yogurt, dried into small pellets and stored for months. It's been a pantry staple in Greek mountain villages for generations, usually simmered into a warming soup. The fermentation process cultivates beneficial bacteria and partially breaks down the wheat's starches and proteins, making it easier to digest than unfermented grain. Studies on fermented grain dairy staples across Mediterranean populations have pointed to associations with more diverse gut microbiomes, and diverse gut microbiomes are consistently linked in research to reduced inflammation and stronger immune function. Traditional use: simmered in water or broth into a simple, warming soup, often the first food eaten in the morning. Think of it as a small bowl carrying a whole ecosystem of gut support, quietly passed down through generations. Number 12. Walnuts, the brain-shaped brain food. Walnuts have been part of the Mediterranean diet since antiquity, and they remain one of the most studied nuts in longevity research. They're one of the richest plant sources of alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid. Multiple studies have linked regular walnut consumption to better markers of cognitive function and cardiovascular health over time. Traditional use: eaten raw as a snack or crushed over salads and yogurt. Think of it as one of the few foods where the shape almost seems to hint at the benefit.
Number 13. Tomatoes, the cooked fruit that gets better with heat. Unlike most produce, tomatoes are a rare case where cooking increases nutritional value, specifically the availability of lycopene, a powerful antioxidant carotenoid. Lycopene has been studied for its association with cardiovascular protection and reduced markers of oxidative stress, particularly when the tomato is cooked with olive oil, which improves absorption. Traditional use: slow cooked into sauces with olive oil and herbs, rarely eaten raw alone. Think of it as proof that sometimes the unhealthy step, cooking, is exactly what unlocks the benefit. Number 14. Purslane, the wild green with a fish-like secret. Purslane is a small, succulent wild green that grows almost as a weed across the Mediterranean, and it holds a genuine nutritional surprise. It's one of the only leafy vegetables that contains meaningful amounts of alpha-linolenic acid, the same plant omega-3 found in walnuts and flaxseed, a rarity for a leafy green. Traditional use: added raw to salads or lightly cooked with tomatoes and garlic. Think of it as a weed doing the nutritional work of a fish. Number 15. Lemon, the acid that makes everything else work harder. Lemon appears in nearly every Mediterranean dish, and its role goes beyond flavor. Its vitamin C content supports collagen synthesis, and the acidity itself has been shown to improve the absorption of iron from plant foods eaten in the same meal. A quietly important detail in a diet built around legumes and greens. Traditional use: squeezed fresh over greens, fish, and legumes at the table. Think of it as the ingredient that makes every other ingredient on this list work a little better. Number 16. Capers, the tiny bud with concentrated antioxidants. Capers are the pickled flower buds of a Mediterranean shrub, and despite their small size, they carry a notably concentrated dose of plant antioxidants, including quercetin. Quercetin has been studied for anti-inflammatory and antihistamine properties, and capers are one of the more concentrated dietary sources of it. Traditional use: scattered sparingly over fish, salads, and sauces. Think of it as proof that impact and size don't have to be related.
Number 17. Barley rusks, paksamadi, the whole grain built to last. Long before refrigeration, Mediterranean islands solved the bread problem with paksamadi, twice-baked barley rusks that could be stored for months without spoiling. Barley is rich in beta-glucan fiber, which has been consistently linked in research to improved cholesterol levels and more stable blood sugar response. Traditional use: softened with a splash of water or olive oil, topped with tomato and cheese. Think of it as an ancient solution to a modern problem: how to eat whole grains without the blood sugar spike. Number 18. Mastiha, the resin researchers are calling a hidden gem. And here it is, number 18. The rare ingredient researchers are studying for a compound so distinctive it's found almost nowhere else in nature. Mastiha is a resin harvested from a single species of tree that grows almost exclusively on the Greek island of Chios. For thousands of years, it's been chewed, brewed into tea, and used in traditional remedies. Mastiha resin contains unique triterpene compounds under active study for anti-inflammatory activity and antibacterial effects, including early research on its interaction with digestive health.
Because the tree grows in such a narrow region, this is one of the rarer entries on this list, but it's increasingly available as a supplement, oil, or traditional resin. Traditional use, softened as a natural resin or steeped into tea. Think of it as one tree on one island, quietly holding a compound the rest of the world is just starting to study.
Number 19. Rosemary, the herb sharpening more than flavor. Rosemary grows wild across Mediterranean hillsides and has been used in traditional medicine for centuries, long before it became a kitchen staple. It contains carnosic acid and rosmarinic acid, compounds studied for antioxidant and potential neuroprotective activity. Its aroma alone has been studied for associations with improved alertness and memory performance. Traditional use: fresh sprigs added to roasted vegetables, fish, and bread. Think of it as the herb doing quiet work for your brain, while everyone assumes it's just for flavor. Number 20. Latalomono, the invisible foundation behind everything. And here we are at number 20, saved for last, because, like the broth in the last video I made about this topic, this isn't really one food. It's the thread running underneath almost everything else on this list. Latalomono is simply olive oil and lemon juice, whisked together, sometimes with a touch of garlic or oregano. It's not a recipe, it's a foundation, poured over greens, fish, legumes, and grains, meal after meal, for a lifetime. Together, the two base ingredients deliver polyphenols, vitamin C, and healthy monounsaturated fat in a single simple pour. No dressing bottle, no added sugar, no shortcuts. It's the invisible architecture underneath nearly every dish we've talked about today. Traditional use, made fresh, used generously on almost everything. Think of it as the quiet foundation holding up an entire way of eating, simple enough to overlook, essential enough to define it.
20 foods, a few thousand years of quiet repetition, and a population that consistently outlives and outthrives almost everywhere else on Earth. Here's what I want you to actually take from this video. The Mediterranean didn't discover a secret. They discovered consistency. Olive oil on everything. Wild greens most days. Legumes instead of meat, more often than not. A small glass of wine, shared slowly. None of it dramatic. All of it compounding, quietly, across decades. You don't need to move to a Greek island to benefit from this. You need to start with one thing. Maybe that's swapping your cooking oil for real extra virgin olive oil. Maybe it's adding a pot of lentils to your week. Maybe it's just finding trahana or mastiha at a Mediterranean grocer and trying something new. If you want a simple way to actually put this into practice, I built a free companion guide with all 20 foods, their traditional preparations, and a simple week of meals to get you started. The link is right below this video. It's free, and it's designed to make everything we covered today usable, not just interesting. Drop a comment and tell me which food on this list surprised you most. Are you team wild greens, team fermented staples, or team Mediterranean herbs? I read every comment. And if you haven't subscribed to Evergreen Gardening yet, now's the time. We're building a place here for people who want to eat, grow, and live a little closer to the way nature already figured out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.